Everybody for joining in. We really appreciate you all kind of being consistent with this class. And the only thing that I wanted to do right now was invite a guest speaker just for a quick minute to start off what's going on. Because again, our goal is to give you super tactical, real stuff that you can apply right away. And right now, what we're seeing in the market is two of the biggest financial institutions, I think, in real estate, which is Wells Fargo and First Republic Bank. Wells Fargo is completely getting out of the market. I've been a customer there for a while. I tried to do a refinance. Literally, they put me through every crazy hoop, and I was like, this is so weird. And in the end, they're like, can't do the refinance. And I was like, what's going on? I called like 10 people. And they're like, yeah, they're getting out of the business. Then there was all these articles coming out about that. Meanwhile, First Republic Bank, which I think is interesting, right? They're seeing the market changing and saying like, hey, we want to get out of the residential lending. First Republic Bank is saying, we want it all. And Blake Whitmer is a guy that works in San Francisco. He's a holistic banker. And not only are they doubling down, but their rates are insane, like 3.2, 3.5% interest only on like a 7-year. I have been sending out Blake's rate sheets to every client I have. I've been posting them out there saying, look, what you're hearing in the news is not necessarily the case. As long as we're getting like 3.5% interest only loans, you're in such good shape. So I just wanted Blake to just give a quick shout out, drop his rate sheet. You can use bulk mail. It's a great tactic to use with the Compass tools. I send this out. I'm like, hey, I just want you to know. I posted in my LinkedIn. So I'll stop talking now. Thanks, Blake.
Thanks, Butch. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. You're spot on. So we're in an economic change that has, we've seen some historical events that are not too different than it. Having said that, it is somewhat of a change than what we've seen historically. I think a big thing that's driving that is the Fed and how they're adjusting rates. Most other institutions you're seeing out there, like the Wells Fargo's, the Chases, the big box banks, are absolutely strapping down. They're becoming tighter on their lending requirements. We actually aren't too different in that. Having said that, we are a bank who has been in the Bay Area since our founding days in 1983. We lend in our backyard, and we lend to clients that we know really well. And by doing that, by knowing the geography that we're lending in, by knowing our clients beyond just what the numbers say, but their behavior, we choose to do really safe deals, and we choose the types of clients that we bring on, which is one of the reasons why we've stayed safe. And extremely low default rates. We've got a net promoter score, if you're familiar with that, of an 88. Banking average in the industry is about a 34. So I mean, the type of service that we deliver is on par with like an Amazon or a Ritz-Carlton. We're very tight with our clients. We know them well. We scratch their back, they scratch ours. That allows us to provide such low interest rates. So when we're looking at times like this, we still look for low leverage. We look for quality clients. We absolutely pick and choose the types of folks that we work with. So we're not taking on every deal, but if it's a smart deal, a safe deal, we're going to provide. I will send out a rate sheet. We did have an adjustment just yesterday, but it's still, to Butch's point, I mean, our ARMs, interest only, you're still looking mid 3%. Our 30-year fixed floor is up to about 4.1. So relative to what else you're seeing out there, I'd like to think that we're still pretty competitive.
They're literally buying the market. And again, if you're sending out, I just think it's super important. Blake's going to provide in the chat a PDF of the rate sheet, but yeah. I send these out to clients all the time, or I post them, and it's just been a godsend. And again, this is for your good high-end clients. Blake does, San Francisco, New York, LA, Miami, all around. They just don't do like, super small kind of suburban tertiary markets, but sure. Again, for the right clients, and again, it's just resetting the dialogue track that's out there. The dialogue track is rates have doubled, tripled. You can't qualify for loans anymore. So thanks, Blake, so much for sharing some of this stuff. And I just wanted to share that with you guys really quick. It's been just an amazing thing that people are responding to a lot. So I wanted to share that with you. So we'll get that PDF to you guys. And so without further ado, I'll let Sydney get started now. If you remember, over the last couple of weeks, we're talking about audience, values, building your core pillars. Last week, we kind of went into Leonard Steinberg and kind of his audience. We had you fill out that survey. For those of you that didn't get the survey, we're going to make sure that you get that by the end of the chat. But right now, we just want to have you guys focus, on Sydney's presentation. So I'll let her take it away. So. Sydney, you there? Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry. Okay, let's try this again. So as Butch said, last week was the first week of 5 in our Building Out Your Brand Key program. This is incredibly important for you guys to understand in the initial, coming up with your initial marketing plan, understanding who you are, what your differentiators are, and really understanding why your clients choose you over your competitors. And I know some agents like to say, I don't have any competitors, but you guys all have competitors. So let's think about this. So last week we went over the importance of understanding your audience and the importance of niching your audience down. So this week we're going to briefly go over some examples of that, and then we'll head into the next step of building out your brand key, which is understanding your values. So quick refresh from last week. If the audience changes, everything changes. So your marketing and your branding should not be for everybody, because when your brand tries to be for everyone, you end up with a brand that speaks to no one. We all agreed on this. One of the first steps in building out your brand is defining and narrowing, hence the word narrowing, your target audience, not making it wider. So, who is your audience? Everyone should put in the chat who their audience is. And I don't want to see like massive cities like New York City. Everyone in LA County. Like, no. Who is your audience? Let's get very specific. We're going to go through a few of the people who did answer the questionnaires. And I really encourage everyone to do it. It's a very shortened version of Upgrade's questionnaire. And a lot of agents feel like it really helps them understand their brand better and themselves better. So let's go through some people's audiences. So Corey, 40 to 80-year-old sellers on the South Shore of Long Island. Can you guys not see my...
We were just seeing your desktop, Sydney.
Oh, there we go. Is that better?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So 40 to 80-year-old sellers on the South Shore. So for Corey, I would take that that's a good start, and then I would take that a step further. Like, are they families? Do they all work in a certain industry? Have they all, their families have lived there for forever? Or are they coming from somewhere else? Take that to a next step forward. Katie, struggling with this as a new agent, trying to work any buyer or seller lead you can get. I totally understand that, and I think that that's a great place to be when you're a newer agent. However, the sooner you really target your audience, the more likely you are to get more of those people. So, for example, Upgrade has a client, Michelle Harris, who's a San Francisco agent, and she was actually a brand new agent 2 years ago. Never did a deal before she started working with Upgrade, and she lives in a certain neighborhood, and she was like, should I target all of San Francisco, or should I just target the neighborhood I live in? Because she knows the moms in the area, etc. She ended up doing that, which was obviously scary. She sold $20 million in her first year. And I think it's really because she really, really focused on the one neighborhood, and she really specified who she was targeting. Leslie, 30 to 40-year-old, first-time DC and move-up DC, and close-in MD. Buyer, single or married, maybe with first child. That's good. My Calabasas residents, European and Asian professionals in my networking groups, probate attorneys, and estate administrators. That's very good, very specific. Butch, let's talk about your audience, because I think one thing that a lot of clients that I work, or a lot of agents that I work with, often say, I have 5 audiences. I have so many audiences. I don't want to pare down. And that's okay, as long as your audiences are very specific. And Butch is a great example of that, because he has very specific 3 different audiences that he focuses on. So let's hear from you, Butch, on who your audiences are.
Well, and 2, I want to talk about my year, because I think this is so great, right? In my writes in the Calabasas residence, which is great. She's got a neighborhood. I always say, like, really focus on neighborhoods. She says European and Asian professionals, and then probate attorneys and estate administrators. All phenomenal. I love going deep into this. So how does she do this, right? And so one of the ways is doing lunches, right? Like grabbing a probate person and an attorney saying, hey, I'm going to have you do a lunch and learn. Going to some professionals that she knows at different companies and saying, hey, would you mind talking about like your experience as an Asian American or Asian immigrant coming in and working in this tech field and how you got started? Like promoting these different opportunities to give back in the community, or interviewing them, right? Like Compass across the board in all these offices, and I know Chirag as well, is creating like a little social media centers. Like here in our office, we just created one. They took an office and repurposed it. Bring them in. You can cut a quick little video. Doesn't have to be 30 minutes. It can be like 10, 15 minutes. Sydney set me up doing this, and we just interviewed a bunch of thought leaders, and we just started promoting this. Again, what's my audience, to go back to Sydney? It's professionals. It's professionals that are a little bit more casual, a little bit think differently, right? They're not the people that color in the lines. If they do, they're going to pick somebody else that's really buttoned up, that wears the suit, that has all the graphs. I've really tried to keep and hone a message of like, if you're somebody that thinks differently in development, you'll see all my pictures. It's around construction, those types of things. People really come to me and say like, I want to know what this would cost. What, in that regard. So we really kind of hammer on that. And then the other one is family. I really make it a concerted effort to integrate my family life into my work. So everywhere we go, I take pictures and like, this was a great experience. And I share it with people. Like I really go out of my way to say like, you got to take your kids to this, right? Because families are so important to me. So anyway, that's when we talk about audience, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I think those are 2 types of demographics that he focuses on. But if you wanted to take it a step further, like we really, for his marketing, target specific neighborhoods. He's an agent in San Francisco and Marin, 2 big cities, right? But however, we only focus on 3 neighborhoods. So in San Francisco, it's Marina Kauhala, which are right next to each other. And then in Marin, it's Stinson Beach. And that's it. Does he do deals outside of those areas? Yes, all the time. Do we highlight that and showcase it? Like this, it's this big deal? No. And we're not scared to not do that, because what we're trying to do is show the Marina Kauhala people and the Stinson Beach people that is where he's focused. And in Stinson Beach, he's the #1 agent there and has been for years, because that he does so much business there, because that's what everybody knows. And it's because he's constantly there marketing that he's the #1 guy in Stinson Beach. Okay, let's go through. And again, as a reminder, I will share the link to the questionnaire. I really, really, really want everyone to fill this out, because I think it will be really helpful in coming up with these things for yourself. And like Butch said, understanding your audience is then how we can decide how we're marketing. So like he said, a lot of his clients like build or do new construction or do big projects, right? Like they'll buy a fixer and do a big project. So what did we do when he had his lifestyle photo shoot? We did it on a construction site, because it's relevant to his audience and it makes sense to his brand, because there's a lot of renovations that are happening. So if your audience is professionals that are attorneys and lawyers, people who are super dressed up at work, I would probably dress up for your photo shoot to be relevant to them and relatable.
Exactly.
Okay. So we spoke about this last week, but I want to, go in on this again. The most successful brands today go beyond their products. Coca-Cola sells happiness. They don't just sell a drink. Volvo sells safety, not just any car, right? You guys aren't just selling real estate. That's not what you're doing. What are you selling outside of that? Like, why you? Because if you guys were all agents in the exact same city, pretty much you charge the same, right? There's no difference in your fees, really, unless you want to be like a Redfin agent. But for the most part, let's say all of our fees are the same. So why are they choosing you? Disney sells magic. Find the emotional journey of your customer, know their pain points, and think about how you want someone to feel when they interact with you in your business. So this leads us into understanding your brand's values. We now know our audience. What are your values as a person and as a brand? What is your business's values? Every strong brand is comprised of 4 key elements. Together, they'll form a brand key, which becomes your marketing's North Star. Every single thing you do, you should hold up against this brand key at the end of 5 weeks and be like, does it match what I put in my brand key? Because if there's nothing about dogs in here, then there shouldn't be a million posts about dogs, right? Like, we need to stay on brand. Like, you don't see Coca-Cola posting a bunch of pictures about dogs or Disneyland because they're super focused on one thing. Okay, so let's discuss the importance of values. So like I said, last week we went over audience. Now we're going to go into values. The benefits of creating strong brand values include improved recognition, trust, and connectivity. Impactful brand values improve recognition. And that is the most important thing as an agent, right? There's a million agents. Everyone knows an agent. Everyone knows 5 agents. Who's the one that's going to be recognizable? Even if all of your audience was the exact same, who's the one that's going to stand out? It's going to be the one with the values that are relatable to me. Brand values determine your brand's identity, message, and personality. So one of Butch's values is laid back, casual, the opposite of buttoned up. And those are the people that he attracts. And when he gets a referral for someone that's super buttoned up, he tells them straight out, like, look, I'm super casual. I'm not going to be sending you charts every day. Like, I'll probably talk to you once a week. It'll get done. I'll get you a good price, but this isn't going to be like a super formal relationship.
I think to your point, right? It's setting expectations. So then the person goes, okay, that's who I'm dealing with. And they can decide right there. Again, the super important thing is it allows me to direct. And they go, no, I that's what I want. At least I know who you are, but I got referred by you and I know, and then I come at them and then I'm not changing their perception, right? I'm living through to what their perception, and hopefully I deliver and do a great job, but at least I get to set the core strength of like what I deliver. And I get to say that, right? Like, hey, I'm not going to send you data, but this is why, but this is what I do. And if people are super appreciative or they leave. And remember, when you work with people that you don't gel with, one thing typically happens. There's a disruption in the communication, and then they're like, that didn't work out so well. And when it works great, the referrals are endless, right? And when it works bad, you just wasted your time. So again, that's why, we're not saying you can't work with people. It's just helping you set some value chains. And again, I look at the values, like I was going to show Sydney I don't know if I can share the screen here.
Oh, yeah,
my screen, but can you guys see? What screen are you guys seeing? Is it this? Can you see the?
Yeah, we inspire our clients to live our best lives.
Yeah.
But then
here's some values, right? Like I want people to anticipate, like we anticipate, we connect, we personalize, we own the process. Be bold, never stop innovating, focus on solutions, own the outcome, lead beyond real estate, never compromise on excellence. So these are some of the things that I just wanted to share with you guys that are just super important.
Yeah, and one of the
values so that you really own the essence of it, right? Like this is what I stand for.
Exactly. And Penny, your comment about, you do bus benches, but then it doesn't seem like to generate business. There's 2 things I'll say to that. One of them is, everyone on this call and every single agent needs to get out of the mindset of, oh, I'm going to do one thing and it's going to generate 5 leads. It just doesn't work like that. You guys have to get out of that mindset. Everything you do is a long-term play. Everything. Social media, mailers, bus benches, every single thing you do is going to take 10 to 20 times for someone to consider you. It's not one bus bench equals 5 calls. That's not how this works. However, the better your bus bench is, the more on brand it is to your specific audience, the more likely you are to get calls. If your bus bench just says, hey, I'm Penny, I'm an agent, call me. That doesn't say anything to me. That doesn't say anything to me. Why are you different? Why should I call you? Right?
Right. It's got to be hyper targeted. And again, the bus bench is doing 2 things. The people that are just driving by, they see your face, right? That's the long tail. But the bus bench has to be really targeted. Like, just say one thing. And again, people will still see it long term, right? Everybody that knows you in your sphere goes, there's Penny on the bench, like that, she's the best, right?
A great idea for bus benches or for billboards or stuff is answering a question. What's a question that your audience is constantly asking you? Or just like not even answering it, just asking it and then be like, call me.
Right. If you're an expert on the schools, right? Like, knowing schools better than anyone, right? Like, okay, that's what's going to be my lead in, or right? Like, understanding the fundamentals of, delivering on the fundamentals of professional, whatever it is, right? Like, how it's, but don't worry, don't give up the bench, right? That's one, and no one ever goes, oh, hey, Penny, I called you because the bench. You stayed top of mind. It's just, but remember, that's how marketing works, right? Coca-Cola doesn't want you to run out and buy a Coke.
If you did it for 3 years, then yeah, I mean, you tried, and I think it's time to try a new design, right? Like, that's all that marketing is. It's A/B testing. That's all we do. We try something, and if it works, we're gonna keep doing it, and we'll keep elevating on top of it. And if it doesn't, we adjust. That is marketing. So, you have to be willing to change. As far as Leonard, let's go through Leonard again, because last week we went through Leonard and we all kind of agreed on who his audience is. So we now know, affluent, socialites, people who travel, obviously, people who have money, but also people who appreciate the finer things in life and who are really focused on the details. They probably don't want the penthouse in the most modern building. His audience probably wants the old, brownstone walk up that has the charm and the fixtures pre-war or whatever. So let's go through his content pillars again. And this is all just based on his Instagram. And at the end of that, we're going to figure out together what his brand's values are. What does he value? What does he value? And what does his audience value? Okay, Leonard. Everyone knows Leonard. First content pillar, obviously, listings, real estate. The way he speaks about them, though, is very in the details and also showcasing that he knows the area. So almost every single just listed type of post, first of all, you rarely see him say like just listed, with a template. But it's always, you can always see like minutes from blank and walking distance to blank and views to whatever, steps from this gym or this park. What is he saying here? What he's showing us that he knows the area very well. Seconds from whatever. Travel. Again, we spoke about the way he talks about his travel. It's very like in the know, right? Like, where is this beach club? I have no idea. And why is there like no one there? He's obviously at some place that's like private. Or this, a terrace with a view is a good thing. La Dolce Vita, like very, bougie trips, private places, etc. And he's kind of vague in like where he's at. Why? Exclusivity? Lifestyle. again, he's, showcasing his actual personal style here. And if you guys have ever met him or seen images of him, he's always in some fun, funky outfit, pink suit here, with white shoes, a full like plaid suit here. Like, he's showing that he's fun and stylish and almost eclectic, but in like a very chic way when it comes to how he dresses and also what he's showcasing about the properties. Again, when you look at his listings or when you look at his Instagram, it's very rarely the corner wide angle shot of the properties saying just listed 3-bed, 4-bath, 2.5 million. Call me for more details. That's not what he says. He's like, look at this fixture, it was probably here in the 1900s or whatever, there's some story about all of his properties and why it's cool. What a wonderful night. An event with the legendary like prize winning architect. Okay, so he knows all the people you gotta know and he's going to all these events, right? He's tagging all the local areas. He does that in almost every post, like close to blank, and he tags all the local businesses. So he is in the know. And then lastly, market dynamics and conditions. He talks a lot about what's going on in the market, but it's less, here's a chart, take a look at July market update. He doesn't do that. He's talking, look at how long these captions are. From his perspective, what's going on in the market.
And I just want to say too, like, I love Bob's questions here. When he leaves questions, when Leonard leaves questions, it's so funny. Like, I try and come up with these posts all the time and be, like interesting, or try and think of engagement and social media. And I'll never forget, I was just driving down the street and there's a Porsche and it's this weird green color. And I was like, that's so ugly. And I took a picture of it and I said, what color is this? That's it. It got more hits than when my son was first born. Like, literally thousands of people were like, oh my God, turquoise barf, and it started this like chain. So I love those kind of things, right? Like, as you see interesting things, the other thing I wanted to share right now is, like, Penny brings up a great thing. I love the romance of real estate, right? So I just want to play with that in terms of, we talk about audience and values, right? Like, I love the love story of real estate. So you can really play into that, right? Like, matchmaker for your next home. And she could really, her logo would have a heart on it, right? Like, so it catches people's eyes, right? Like big heart. And then at her open houses, she'd have hearts there. You could take it further, right? Like, interview matchmakers and those types of things, right? It wouldn't be the worst idea, because people get hooked up and you're like, let me get you a home. But you would kind of play into that genre, right? Of like, this is what I do. Like, I'm a matchmaker for people's dreams. And like, your website would be cloudy, right? Like, it kind of like all those types of things. And that's how you can play it out, and who you would be interviewing, right? Like, and again, it doesn't mean that other people aren't going to work with you. You're just really going deep on this one concept. And that concept is just being really memorable, right? Like, people are just like, oh, that was so cute, right? Like, I always remember Penny because she's the matchmaker. Like, I need to find a match for my house, right? Like, and all those things, or you hand out matches, or all whatever. So those are just like little things that you can build on. And like, every time you meet people, you have a heart, or like you hand out a piece of candy, right? Like, that's like, hey, just great to meet you, right? Penny, you're going to Atlanta. I mean, you just go deep on that, right? And everyone that you meet at the Atlanta conference, you're just, there's something about a heart or matchmaking or something like that. And when you're there, you're connecting everybody. Like, hey, you got to meet so and so and so and so, right? Because you're in New York, right? Like, and everybody. And like, hey, I want to meet these West Coast, East Coast people. So do you see how that works, right? You can take a concept, you can take an idea, and really.
But here's the thing about that: it's so important for your concept, your thing, your niche, whatever, to be true to who you are. Because if you try to do something that's not true to who you are, it's just not it's just not going to work. B, you're not going to put the energy into doing it because it's not true to who you are. So you need to pick something that's very true to who you are, which is why doing this questionnaire, and if you want the full questionnaire, I can send it to you, the one we do for our clients, is very important. It helps you understand who you are really in business, right? And what your brand stands for. Does everyone know the brand Patagonia? I'm sure we all know the brand, right? What do they stand for? Everyone knows this. What do they stand for? They stand for helping the environment. That is all they care about, the environment. What just happened yesterday? Does anyone know what happened? $3 billion. $3 billion. The CEO gave all of his money to efforts for the environment. That's standing for your values. Right? Okay. What are we all going to talk about Patagonia and remember this till the end of time? Probably. It's very memorable. That's like standing up true to your values, something he cares about, something a lot of people care about.
But look how strong that is too, right? He is all in, right? Like, you know, on his card, he had it's the tree, right? And like nature and all those things. So you just totally play into it. And if you don't have it, you can literally get it by just asking your friends and colleagues, right? Like, what do I stand
your testimonials? That's the first place you should start. Read through all your testimonials. I guarantee you there's one or two words that show up in almost every single one of them.
And I also think too, like if you're like, what questions could I answer? Like call 3 friends and go, like, what's one cool question that you have in real estate right now or that you would love to know? Or go to a cocktail party, like, hey, if I could answer one question, what would it be? And they'll tell you, and then do a post on it, right? So and then again, follow to your brand when you're on camera, when you're doing your social media post, whatever your brand is, like be wearing it, like have it be your essence, right? Like,
so what are Leonard's brand values? What do we think his values are? Quality. Top value, 100%. Timelessness, maybe? Exclusivity. Best of the best. Is it the best of the best? Or luxury? Because I think that is different to everyone. The best of the best and luxury.
I heard a great thing. This speaker came and spoke to us down in Austin, and he goes, it's funny, if you type luxury into Google, you see yachts, planes, mansions. If you type luxury into Amazon, comes up towels. So to your point, Sydney, you know, luxury is different to everybody. And it's just funny, it all depends on the perception, you know, and so
so when you're filling out this brand key for yourself, try to think like this, like push yourself. Don't just write, I'm a luxury real estate agent. What does that even mean? Why?
Right. I think Leslie has it spot on, like bespoke realtor, like, and I love Nancy's, you know, cheeky dignity. Like he is playful, right? Like you're going to have fun working with, would you not agree? Like if you were working with Leonard, you know, you're going to have some fun.
After you sign your listing agreement, you guys are going to go to some cool speakeasy bar you never heard of before. And he's going to know the bartenders and he's going to know everyone in there.
Yeah. And you're going to have a good time on the social exchange. And again, you can be that if that's who you want to be, but you can be like just the super stat person, right? Like there's those people like the Patrick Carlisles of the world that just know the ins and outs of stats, right? And like, I would have like a matrix thing on my card, right? Like just every stat, and like I'd be talking about stats, you know, so all those different things.
Exactly. Okay, so next steps for everyone is you guys should fill out the questionnaire if you haven't already, and I put it in the chat. I'll put it in the chat again. Just put that in the chat. Fill that questionnaire out. I'm not going to do anything with this. This is just for you. It'll email you your results. And take the time to, if you haven't already, fill out or write down who your audience is, very specific, who your audience is, and what are your brand's values? Your brand.
And why this is so important is the timing of this, because we're 30 days away from Atlanta. Chirag's going through, like making sure you identify your blind spots, your goals, like what do you want to get out of the next couple years, the 5-year plan. This is all you, again, I say this a lot, but you don't build a summer body in the summer, right? It's the winter. Like we have a great situation happening right now. The market is wonky. There's no better time when clients across the board want to hear from you, right? They want to know what's going on in the market. If their major purchases their house, like how's my house doing? Like what's going on in the market? So not only like, is this the greatest time for real estate agents? Like you get to be the expert. You get to say what's going on in real time. Everybody wants to know in real time. And they're all curious because they're all freaking out because the news is going like this. Like this is an amazing time, and understanding your brand is an ability for you to go into Atlanta or just network at the end of this year. Everybody wants to get together and really showcase who you are so that you become memorable. All we want, if I could ask for one thing from all of you, is that you come out of this and you just go, wow, I really know who I am. I really know who my core audience is. And man, this really helped me, because when I went out and talked to people, I was super memorable. I wasn't just, oh, I know that agent. It was like, wow, that person answers this for me. And hopefully we spawn some ideas, but the better you can do that, right? Like you're just super memorable when they come out of Atlanta, like, oh yeah, that was great, And again, you're not looking for 100 people out of Atlanta. You're looking for 2 or 3, right? Like 2 or 3 really good people, and then make it grow. Right? Like I would love for all of you to have a spreadsheet and say, I want 100 agents at Compass that I talk to all the time, and we are just tight. And it starts with 3, and then it goes to 5, and then it goes to 15.
But especially agent to agent, like why are they going to remember you?
Right. Exactly.
Does anyone have any questions for me about branding or marketing? As a reminder, I run a company that is a marketing agency for real estate agents. This is exactly what we do for our clients, and we take it a next step further, and we actually execute on everything for them. So we will run your social, we'll do all of your marketing, your listing marketing, your advertising, everything with this at the core, which is why it's so important for everyone to understand this as a building block for your marketing plan as we gear up for Q4 and start talking about next year. So if there's any questions, I put our website in the chat. I'll put my email as well.
It looks like the full questionnaire. Do you want to?
Yeah, I can send the full questionnaire. The full questionnaire for Upgrade has a lot of questions like how much do you spend on marketing and what's your marketing plan, etc. But I think it's helpful.
Yeah, just email Sydney direct on that if you want the full questionnaire, and she can kind of help you. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, everybody.
Come next week with your values.
Yeah, so next week, audience values. And if you didn't do it, there's no pressure, right? It's just all we want you to do is take some time. I know it's super busy right now, but again, this is all leading to just little things that you can do. And in the interim this week, I will send the team the rate sheet, because I think people had problems downloading it. So I will get that to everybody. But again, that's just one tactical thing you can do this week, is again, change the narrative out there. This is just a great thing, right? Like, hey, I just want you to know out there, a lot of people are talking about interest rates and the Fed moving interest rates. Take a look at what First Republic's doing. They're betting on the real estate market. I'm your expert in the field, in the trenches, with real-time information right now about what's going on. Call me if you have questions. You just get out there and say that a couple times or through your social media. I mean, people are going to call, and
awesome. Thanks.
I just really appreciate you guys. And then I think we do a survey at the end or whatever. So I think.
Oh, here it is.
Christine is so on top of it. Look at that. It just pops up. You just say the word survey.
I try.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.